Picture this. You're sipping your morning coffee, scrolling through Instagram, and suddenly you see it. A photo of vintage cars cruising past colorful colonial buildings under perfect blue skies. The caption reads, "Living my best life in Havana," and instantly you're hooked. The idea plants itself in your mind like a seed. What if you could actually move to Cuba? Well, hold on to that dream because I'm about to take you on a reality check journey that might surprise you. I've spent the last few years diving deep into what it actually takes to live in this mysterious Caribbean island. And trust me, the truth is way more complicated than those Instagram posts suggest. Cuba isn't just another tropical paradise where you can pack your bags and start fresh. This is a country that's been shrouded in political complexity for over 6 decades, where the rules of normal expat life simply don't apply. But here's the thing that'll blow your mind. Despite all the challenges, thousands of foreigners have found ways to call this incredible island home. So, what's the real deal with living in Cuba? Can you actually move there permanently? What about the famous US embargo? And most importantly, would you even want to once you know what daily life is really like? Let me paint you the full picture because this story has more twists than a telenovela. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Can foreigners actually move to Cuba? The short answer might shock you. Technically, no. You cannot move to Cuba permanently unless you're a Cuban citizen. But here's where it gets interesting. You absolutely can live there, potentially indefinitely, if you know how to work within the system. Think of Cuba like an exclusive club with very specific membership rules. To become a permanent resident, you need to either marry a Cuban citizen or apply for citizenship independently. The marriage route involves mountains of paperwork and a lengthy bureaucratic process that can test even the strongest relationships. The independent citizenship path, even more paperwork, longer waits, and you'll need compelling reasons for why Cuba should welcome you as a citizen. But here's the clever workaround that many expats use: visa cycling. With a tourist visa, you can stay for 3 months, then hop over to Mexico or another neighboring country for a weekend, get a new tourist visa, and voila, you're back for another 3 months. Some foreigners have been doing this dance for years, essentially living in Cuba indefinitely while technically remaining tourists. The family visa gives you a bit more breathing room at 6 months per cycle. And if you're lucky enough to land a job with an international company operating in Cuba, a work visa could be your golden ticket. Student visas are another pathway if you're accepted at a Cuban university. Now let's talk about what daily life actually looks like once you're there. Because this is where Cuba becomes truly unique among global destinations. Imagine living in a place where everything has 2 sides. An official version and an unofficial reality. There's the government-controlled peso, and then there are currencies that actually have value outside Cuba. There's your official job, and then there's the hustle that actually pays your bills. There's the store where shelves are often empty, and then there's the black market where you can find almost anything if you have the cash. This dual reality isn't some underground secret. It's how daily life functions for everyone, Cubans and foreigners alike. The key difference is that as a foreigner, you'll be operating with significantly more financial resources than most locals, which both opens doors and creates unique challenges. Let's dive into the practical stuff that'll impact your daily routine. Shopping for groceries isn't like popping into your neighborhood supermarket. You might need to visit multiple vendors to find what you need, and certain items simply aren't available for weeks or months at a time. Internet access exists, but it's expensive and slow by international standards. You'll need a quality VPN to access many websites and services you're used to. But here's what might surprise you. Many expats find these challenges oddly liberating. When you can't rely on Amazon deliveries or DoorDash, you start building real relationships with your neighbors. When internet is precious, you spend more time actually talking to people. When restaurants have limited menus, you discover incredible hole-in-the-wall places that serve the most amazing food you've ever tasted. The weather is undeniably spectacular. Picture year-round temperatures that hover between perfect and slightly too warm, with the occasional tropical shower to cool things down. You can wear flip-flops 12 months a year and never need a heavy coat. Cuban culture is intoxicating in ways that are hard to describe until you experience it firsthand. Music isn't background noise here, it's a way of life. You'll hear salsa, reggaeton, and traditional Cuban rhythms floating from windows, shops, and street corners at all hours. Dancing isn't a weekend activity, it's a daily expression. The social culture is incredibly warm and inclusive. though it can feel overwhelming if you're used to more reserved interactions. The architecture is breathtaking. Walking through Old Havana feels like time traveling through centuries of colonial history. The famous vintage American cars aren't just tourist props, they're actual daily transportation, meticulously maintained by owners who've become master mechanics out of necessity. Healthcare quality is genuinely impressive, with well-trained doctors and a system that produces excellent outcomes. However, medical supplies can be scarce, so many expats travel to other countries for routine procedures or to stock up on medications. Education standards are exceptionally high, with Cuba boasting one of the world's highest literacy rates. The library systems are extensive and well-maintained, offering a cultural richness that might surprise visitors expecting everything to be outdated. Now for the reality check on costs. By North American or European standards, Cuba can be relatively affordable, but there's a catch. Recent currency reforms and inflation have dramatically impacted prices, especially for imported goods. You can live simply and cheaply if you adapt to local ways of shopping and eating, but maintaining a Western lifestyle will cost significantly more. A modest apartment in Havana might run you anywhere from $500 to over $1,000 monthly, depending on location and amenities. Food costs vary wildly. Eating at government-run restaurants is very affordable, while private paladeros can be surprisingly expensive. Fresh produce from local vendors is reasonable, but imported goods carry premium prices. Transportation is an adventure in itself. Collective taxis are cheap and efficient for longer distances within cities. Bicycle rickshaws work well for shorter trips. Private taxis are available but negotiate prices beforehand. Many expats eventually buy bicycles for daily commuting. Here's something most guides won't tell you. As a foreigner in Cuba, you represent something complex to local residents. You embody the outside world that many Cubans dream of experiencing but cannot easily access due to visa restrictions from other countries. This can create intense interest in your presence, which some find flattering and others find overwhelming. The social dynamics require cultural sensitivity. While Cubans are generally incredibly warm and welcoming, the economic disparities between foreigners and locals are stark. A single meal at a tourist restaurant might cost more than many Cubans earn in a week. Navigating these realities requires thoughtfulness and respect. Let's address the political elephant in the room. Cuba remains a one-party socialist state, which means certain freedoms that many Westerners take for granted simply don't exist here. Freedom of speech, assembly, and political expression are limited. Internet access is monitored and certain websites remain blocked despite VPN use. However, as a foreigner, you're generally not expected to participate in political activities, and most expats report feeling physically safe and secure. The crime rates are remarkably low compared to other Caribbean destinations, though petty theft targeting tourists does occur. The bureaucracy is extensive and everything requires paperwork, lots of it. Simple tasks that might take minutes in other countries can require hours or days in Cuba. Patience isn't just a virtue here, it's a survival skill. But here's what keeps people coming back and staying. The human connections are extraordinary. Cuban resourcefulness is legendary. When something breaks, someone always knows how to fix it creatively. When you need help, neighbors genuinely step up. When you're celebrating, everyone joins the party. The pace of life moves differently. Rushing is generally pointless because systems move at their own speed regardless of your urgency. This forced slowness can be incredibly healing for people coming from high-stress Western lifestyles. Nature experiences are world-class. From pristine beaches that rival any Caribbean destination to lush mountain ranges perfect for hiking, Cuba offers incredible diversity and relatively compact geography. The diving and fishing are exceptional, with coral reefs that remain healthier than many other Caribbean locations. Cultural experiences are unmatched. This is a place where art, music, and literature aren't just entertainment. They're integral parts of daily life. You can attend world-class ballet performances, discover incredible local art galleries, and stumble upon street musicians who play with conservatory-level skill. The food scene is evolving rapidly. While ingredient limitations create challenges, Cuban chefs are incredibly creative with available resources. The rise of private paladeros has revolutionized dining options, offering everything from traditional Cuban comfort food to innovative fusion cuisine. So should you actually consider moving to Cuba? That depends entirely on your personality, expectations, and ability to adapt. If you thrive on routine, convenient shopping, fast internet, and predictable systems, Cuba will likely frustrate you. If you're energized by cultural immersion, don't mind bureaucratic challenges, and can find joy in simplicity, Cuba might be transformative. The expat community, while small, is incredibly supportive. You'll find people from all over the world who've chosen Cuba for various reasons: retirees seeking affordable tropical living, academics researching Cuban history, artists drawn to the creative energy, and adventurers simply seeking something completely different. Language considerations are important. While you can survive with basic Spanish initially, true integration requires becoming conversational. Most Cubans speak little English outside tourist areas, so language learning isn't optional if you want meaningful connections with locals. Climate adaptation varies by individual. The heat and humidity can be intense during summer months, and air conditioning isn't universally available. The tropical storm season brings genuine weather concerns that require preparation and flexibility. Financial planning requires careful consideration. You cannot rely on U.S. credit cards or easy money transfers from American banks. Alternative financial systems work but require research and setup before arrival. Having emergency funds accessible through non-U.S. banking systems is essential. The visa cycling lifestyle, while workable, creates ongoing uncertainty. Border runs every few months become part of your routine, which some find adventurous and others find exhausting. Long-term planning becomes complicated when your legal status resets every 3 to 6 months. Medical preparation should include stocking up on any prescription medications before arrival and researching medical tourism options in nearby countries for procedures that might not be available locally. Yet despite all these challenges, there's something magnetic about Cuba that captures hearts in ways that are difficult to explain rationally. Maybe it's the resilience of people who've maintained joy and creativity despite decades of hardship. Maybe it's the stunning beauty of a place where nature and history coexist so dramatically. Maybe it's simply the intoxicating feeling of experiencing life completely differently than anything you've known before. Cuba isn't for everyone, and it's certainly not the easy tropical retirement destination that some other Caribbean islands offer. It's complicated, frustrating, bureaucratic, and sometimes overwhelming. It's also vibrant, culturally rich, naturally spectacular, and profoundly moving. The decision to move to Cuba is ultimately about what you value most in life. If convenience, predictability, and familiar systems top your list, look elsewhere. If cultural immersion, human connections, natural beauty, and personal growth through challenge appeal to you, Cuba might just change your life in ways you never expected. The island that time forgot is slowly opening to the world again, creating unique opportunities for adventurous expats willing to embrace complexity. Whether that includes you depends entirely on how much uncertainty you can handle in exchange for one of the world's most unique living experiences. So there you have it, the unvarnished truth about moving to Cuba. It's not the simple tropical paradise that Instagram suggests, but it might just be the life-changing adventure you never knew you needed. The question isn't whether Cuba is perfect, it's whether its particular brand of imperfection might be exactly what you're looking for.